The question about Mars no one wants to answer. Mars has been studied, mapped, debated, and imagined for generations. Yet, one question lingers beneath every mission, rarely spoken aloud. A question so uncomfortable that it is often avoided entirely. Its silence reveals more than any answer could. To understand why this question matters today, we have to strip Mars of romance. Beyond exploration, beyond colonization, beyond survival plans, there's a deeper issue shaping every decision. Mars forces humanity to confront not what we can do, but what we should do. And that distinction is becoming impossible to ignore. Capability has outpaced reflection. At first, Mars was treated as an object, something to observe. Then it became a destination, something to reach. Now it stands on the edge of becoming a responsibility. And responsibility demands answers that ambition prefers to delay. The transformation is not complete, but it is underway. Each step toward Mars accelerates the need for clarity. The shift from object to responsibility carries weight that technical progress cannot address. Machines can reach Mars. Policies cannot be automated. The decisions that matter most require human judgment under conditions of profound uncertainty. And uncertainty does not disappear with additional data. It merely shifts to new domains. The unspoken question is not whether we can go to Mars. That has largely been answered. The question is whether going there changes us for the better, or whether it simply exports the same patterns that damage one world to another. The inquiry cuts to the core of human nature. Mars does not need us. It will remain unchanged by our absence, but our presence will change it forever. That imbalance shifts the moral weight entirely onto humanity. Every plan carries consequences beyond technology. The planet offers no guidance. It merely reflects choices back. The asymmetry of influence creates asymmetry of responsibility. This asymmetry distinguishes Mars from every previous frontier. Other territories contain populations, ecosystems, or existing claims. Mars contains only time and evidence. It asks nothing of us. It offers no resistance. And that passivity makes our choices entirely our own. There is no opposition to blame, no conflict to resolve. Only the question of what we choose to do with unprecedented power. As timelines shorten and pressure builds, avoiding this question becomes harder, because once the first irreversible step is taken, there will be no way to revisit the decision. The moment of choice passes without return. Mars is waiting, not for arrival, but for clarity. And the question no one wants to answer is whether humanity is ready to live with the outcome of its own reach. The deeper we explore this question, the more it resists easy answers. Mars sits at the intersection of curiosity and consequence. Every argument in favor of going there is matched by an argument for restraint. The symmetry creates paralysis. Supporters of expansion point to survival. They argue that humanity must become multiplanetary to endure long-term threats. Mars represents insurance against extinction, a second foothold, a backup plan. That logic is powerful because it speaks to fear. It activates the deepest survival instincts. Others counter with responsibility. Mars is one of the last untouched worlds in our reach. Altering it without necessity risks repeating history on a cosmic scale. They argue that preservation is not stagnation, but wisdom learned through loss. The restraint honors lessons paid for dearly. This debate exposes a deeper uncertainty. Is survival defined by expansion or by balance? Does resilience come from reaching outward or from learning to protect what we already have? Mars forces these philosophies into direct confrontation. Neither can claim complete truth. The problem is timing. Humanity does not face immediate extinction, but it does face accelerating pressure. Decisions made under pressure are rarely thoughtful. Mars risks becoming a reaction instead of reflection. The urgency may be manufactured rather than genuine. Avoiding the question has consequences too. Technology advances regardless. Capability grows. Eventually, action becomes easier than restraint. At that point, choice disappears. The default becomes action by inertia. Mars reveals that the hardest decisions are not technical. They are ethical. And ethics become most difficult when no option feels clean. The discomfort is the point. The conflict sharpens when intention collides with inevitability. Humanity tells itself it will decide carefully, that it will pause, evaluate, and choose wisely. But history suggests otherwise. Capability often becomes action long before consensus is reached. The pattern repeats across domains. Mars sits directly in that pattern. Every year, technology lowers the barrier to presence. Launch systems improve. Costs fall. Timelines accelerate. What once required global coordination now feels increasingly attainable by smaller groups. Restraint becomes harder as access increases. The gatekeepers lose authority. This creates a dangerous momentum, not because Mars demands action, but because humans are uncomfortable with unused capability. If something can be done, pressure builds to do it. Mars becomes less a choice and more an expectation. The framing shift from option to obligation. The conflict is no longer between science and ambition. It is between foresight and habit, between learning from history and repeating it under new conditions. Mars does not introduce new human behavior. It magnifies existing ones. The patterns are familiar, only the scale changes. There's also a narrative trap. Framing Mars as destiny removes responsibility. Destiny implies inevitability, and inevitability excuses consequence. If Mars is framed as something we must do, then the damage becomes acceptable by default. The language of destiny serves as permission, but Mars is not destiny. It is an option, and options require judgment. The conflict arises when judgment is postponed until after action, when it can no longer change the outcome. The sequence matters. Mars exposes the cost of delayed ethics. Once the first irreversible step is taken, the debate ends, not because it was resolved, but because it no longer matters. The finality transforms everything. The climax of this question is not a decision, but a realization. Mars does not demand an answer. Humanity does. The planet waits indifferently. The urgency is internal. Every argument for going to Mars carries truth. Every argument for restraint does as well. The danger lies in pretending one cancels the other. They coexist, and that makes the choice heavier, not simpler. Complexity cannot be wished away. The resolution begins with humility, acknowledging that some actions cannot be undone. That exploration without reflection risks becoming repetition. Mars does not need saving. It does not need settling. It needs consideration equal to its permanence. The respect must match the stakes. Whether humanity goes to Mars or not will reveal more about us than about the planet. It will show whether progress is defined by reach or by restraint, by expansion or by understanding consequence. The answer defines not just policy, but character. Mars will not judge the outcome. It will simply reflect it silently for millions of years to come. The responsibility belongs entirely to us. The mirror shows whatever we bring to it. The question no one wants to answer is not unanswerable. It is uncomfortable. It demands honesty that ambition resists. It requires acknowledging limits that optimism denies. But the discomfort does not make the question less urgent. It makes the answer more necessary. Every generation faces defining choices, moments when the easy path and the right path diverge. Mars presents such a moment, not because the planet demands it, but because our capability has grown to the point where the choice can no longer be postponed. What we decide will echo beyond our lifetimes. The question remains open. The answer remains unspoken, but the deadline approaches, and silence will become answer enough if words fail to arrive in time. So what do you think? Are we repeating the same mistake again? The question